Do you remember as a kid going to the playground? And this is when everything was made of metal. So in the heat of the summer, the playground was like a death trap, right? And you'd go down that slide, and it was so worth it because the slides were high and they were fun. And you'd climb up and you have barely anything to hold on to. And you'd get to the top and you'd have to figure out how to get your legs around so you could sit on your butt and you could get down the slide. But by the time you did that all, you started to realize how hot that slide is. And you might even burn the back of your legs several times in the process of going down that slide because you'd stick to it. But it was worth it. We still did it. It was fun. It hurt. Most of the time you'd hold on to the sides, sometimes for security because you were high and there wasn't much to hold on to. Other times to propel you down the slide because it was hot and you were done burning your legs. Do you remember there were always older kids at recess who had figured out how to go no hands down the slide? And when you're younger, you kind of watch that and you're like, ooh, I want to go no hands. And so you climb up that slide and you play with it a little bit. You might pick one hand off. You might, for a second, take both hands off and you put them back on. You might go no hands when you get to the very bottom of the slide just before you put your feet on the ground. Slides nowadays really are made very differently. You can look around and go to a lot of different parks and you can find those old metal slides and have that kind of experience if you've never had it before. But slides nowadays are really made differently. Most of the time, they're not just a straight shot. They're like a spiral, and they're fiberglass, and so they're much softer, and generally they're colored, and so they don't hold the heat like metal would as much, so they don't burn as much when you're going down, and they have much steeper sides. So there's even a little added measure of security attached to them. It certainly would make it much easier to feel safe going no hands. And it definitely makes it a more exciting ride. It has a spiral, feels a little bit more comfortable. You're not dealing with all the issues that you deal with when you go down a metal slide. Life in Jesus is a little bit like that. Life in Jesus is like the new slide. It has a spiral. It's not a straight shot. There's all sorts of twists and turns in it. We don't always know what's coming around the other end of it. But we can go no hands so much sooner than we can the old way. Because the old way is about holding us in religion. The old way is about holding us in a place where there's not freedom to go no hands, because it tells us that we have to do this thing at this time in this way. We have to wear these clothes and portray this image. We have to volunteer here. We have to go to this Bible study. We have to participate in these things in order to give the appearance that we're connected to God. But the thing is, relationship with Jesus isn't about any of that stuff. That's religion. Relationship with Jesus is about faith, and it's about surrender. And through that process of faith and surrender, we can go no hands with Jesus because we can be free. The Lord pursues us in that way. He designed us to have relationship with Him. Everything that He does for us is just to have relationship with us because He loves us that much. The Father loves us that much that He made us so that we can choose relationship. But just like how we choose relationship in the world, where we find people who we like and we like things about them and maybe we have commonality, and so we invest in that relationship. We spend time with that person. We get to know them. We get to know their families. We go out for meals together. We do activities together. We find ways to connect and to build that relationship. Our relationship with Jesus requires the same kind of intentionality. Because if we're not investing in it, if we're not getting to know Him, if we're not reading Scripture, if we're not regularly connecting with Him, what happens in that relationship, just like in human relationships, is over time, we may start not to really care so much about Him. We'll stop paying attention to what He's doing in our life. We may even become offended with Him. And so then we further separate. And it's that much harder then for us to hear what He's saying to us, for us to experience Him in our life, because we've got this block. If you think about a person who's maybe offended you in your life, if you think about a relationship that you used to have that you no longer have, the things that cause that relationship to divide and to separate, that kind of stuff can happen in our relationship with Jesus. He never leaves us. His word tells us that He pursues us even when we don't pursue Him. But He didn't make robots. And so He wants us to be intentional about abiding in Him. As He pursues us, He wants us to receive it. He wants us to surrender our stuff. He wants us to listen and engage in that relationship. His word tells us a little bit about what life can look like when we do that. In 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 16 through 18. Whenever, though, they turn to face God, as Moses did, God removes the veil, and there they are, face to face. We can be face to face with God, is what that is saying, in relationship with Him. They suddenly recognize that God is a living personal presence, not a piece of chiseled stone. He's not religion. He's not an idol. He's not a thing. And when God is personally present, a living spirit, that old constricting legislation is recognized as obsolete. When we have that relationship with God, all those religious things, they don't matter. Because we know that all that matters is relationship with God. All that matters is what He's doing in here. We're free of it. When we're in relationship with God, we're free of it. All of us. Every single one of us. Doesn't matter who you are or what your title is or where you live. When you are in relationship with God, you are free of all of that. Nothing between us and God. Our faces shining with the brightness of His face. And so we are transfigured, much like the Messiah, our lives gradually becoming brighter and more beautiful. As God enters our lives, we become like Him. What an incredible promise this is. What an incredible encouragement this is, that we not only can have a relationship with God, but that when we do and we're willingly entering into that relationship, that we're free of all of it. We're free of everything that burdens us. We're free of everything that holds us back. We're free of all the stuff that the world tells us we're supposed to be. We're free of it. Because all that matters is what He says. All that matters is what He's doing in our life. And we get to go hands free with Jesus. We get to go no hands. What? It's amazing. What an incredible gift. And yet so often, we don't understand that. We don't invest in the relationship enough with the Lord that we can fully receive what He tells us is ours. There is a miracle attached to every single circumstance in our life. And for some of you watching this today, that next miracle is knowing who you are in Jesus and knowing who it is that He wants to be for you. Are you willing to go no hands for Him? Give it a try. Let go of that thing that's holding you back. Invest in that relationship with Jesus. He'll show up and He'll wow you.